Hi, I'm Susan Burns with Global Footprint Network. We work with governments and investors to help them incorporate natural capital into their decision-making processes and look at resource issues just like they look at GDP and inflation. Why is this important? Because we live in a resource-constrained world, and resources are having a bigger and bigger impact on economic health. S&P just put out a report that really shows the impact of climate change on national economies and how that might affect their creditworthiness. That's a really important step, but it's not the whole story. What we've been doing is looking at the flip side. We're looking at the dependence that nations have on resources like fisheries, forests, cropland, and grazing land, and how these constraints may affect their economies. So countries that are dependent on imports could be exposed through commodity price fluctuations. Countries also that depend on resources for income, like Brazil, for example, and its forestry industry, could also be impacted through degradation if they're overfishing, overharvesting any of their natural capital. And a third really important point is that nations are also very invested in stranded assets such as infrastructure and carbon-intensive economies. And as the world moves to take action on climate change, this could pose an economic risk to nations as well. One thing we know is the future is not going to look like the past. So we want to encourage investors and other decision makers to take these issues into account. Not only will that make for safer investments, but it'll also send a very strong signal to governments that looking at resources and protecting natural capital is no longer an option. It's actually a financial necessity.